Okay, so I want to watch the latest closer look from Seth Meyers just to get back in the swing of things. Because this is easy prey because it's so lazy. So I thought it would be fun to just point that out as we go.
There is no sign that the government shutdown will end anytime soon, and now the president wants a primetime address to repeat his lies. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. Our political system feels like it's at a breaking point. It was always fragile, but then Donald Trump came along and wrecked it. He's like the guy at a party watching a game of Jenga going, "Take that one, no, that one." And then finally someone says, "You know what? If you think it's so easy, you try it." And then he...
It's really ironic to hear him complaining about the fragmented political system in a video where he does all of the classic mainstream media lying that they all do on a regular basis, presumably for the money. So in the video where he's causing the problem, he complains about the problem.
He just lights the Jenga tower on fire. Boom, now I collect the insurance money, build a bigger tower. There is no more basic test of a political leader than this. Can you keep the government running? And Trump is now again failing that test for the third time in his presidency. In real life, you don't get rehired after that. He's like a stoner working at a pizza place. "Hey, Kevin, how was business today?" "Oh, yeah, it was really slow, man." "Did you unlock the front door?" "Oh, man." "I'm sorry, Kevin. You have given me no choice, Kevin. You're going to get the Cecil B. DeMille Award."
What's really funny about this is just, I mean, you can basically do anything, you know. Dude. Even PolitiFact admits it. Okay, anyway.
And the government shutdown that is now in its third week isn't just a political fight over a useless border wall that Trump repeatedly said Mexico would pay for. It's having real-world consequences for millions of people, from federal workers going without pay to anyone who flies on an airplane.
15 federal agencies are affected by the shutdown. 420,000 federal employees are working without pay, and 380,000 employees are now on unpaid leave.
Federal tax refunds will be delayed. Food stamps for 38 million Americans will be cut. Millions of people will lose rental assistance payments. And union leaders say hundreds of TSA workers are already off the job.
Already, hundreds of TSA employees have missed work at major airports across the country. It's fueling concerns of possible security risks and travel disruptions.
Can you imagine what a nightmare that'll be? It's a major disruption when one TSA agent has to go get more plastic bins. Think about that. Donald Trump is such a bad president, he found a way to make air travel worse than it already was. By the end of his term, the only airline will be Spirit, the only in-flight movie will be Dirty Grandpa, and every seat will be a middle seat.
And what about airline food, am I right? Yeah, and what about airline food?
We are in.
What's the deal with airline food? I mean, come on.
We're in a self-inflicted crisis over a government shutdown because the president is incompetent and unhinged. He's virtually incapable of uttering a truthful or coherent thought about almost anything. Just take one of the most basic responsibilities of his job, national security. Here's Trump from last week describing a meeting with generals at the Pentagon who tried to brief him on dangerous spots around the world.
When I became president, I had a meeting at the Pentagon with lots of generals. They were like from a movie. Better looking than Tom Cruise. And
Okay, this is the part of this video that's so lazy, because it's like, if there was a formula for making fake news, it would be get clips of Trump, take them out of context to make him sound stupid, and then call him a racist. And that's exactly what Seth Meyers proceeds to do. So not only, you know, does he have no integrity, but he's being lazy about that even. He can't even do his easy job well or creatively. He doesn't add anything new to it. He just does the same thing over and over again.
stronger. And I had more generals than I've ever seen. And we were at the bottom of this incredible room. I said, this is the greatest room I've ever seen. I saw more computer boards than I think that they make today.
Why does he always sound like a coworker telling you about a dream he had? There were generals, and we were in this room with computer boards, right? And you were there, but you weren't you, you know? You had your head, but my body.
This would be funny if it weren't so clear what it is, which is like, the joke is like, oh, what Trump says is incomprehensible. He might as well just be saying babble, blathering, blah, 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 blah. There's nothing of substance that he's saying. That's not true. They want you to think that he's not saying anything, and they want you to be unable to understand it and to follow it. And so they pick out parts that are in between that don't make any sense, and they try to make you think that that's how he always talks, so you won't listen.
At that same meeting, Trump rattled off a bizarre and incoherent explanation of the Russian invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. Now, the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan was condemned at the time and since. Only Russia has tried to justify it until last week, when the President of the United States publicly stated for the first time that Russia was right to invade and occupy Afghanistan.
Russia used to be the Soviet Union. Afghanistan made it Russia because they went bankrupt fighting in Afghanistan. Russia. The reason Russia was in Afghanistan was because terrorists were going into Russia. They were right to be there. The problem is it was a tough fight. And literally they went bankrupt. They went into being called Russia again as opposed to the Soviet Union.
Look, sometimes you get involved in something that goes so badly you have to change your name. For example, you take a job as Donald J. Trump and you leave it as prisoner 5678891.
So they're purposefully missing his point with this and trying to make it sound like gobbledygook. So I love how it's so formulaic. He sets it up perfectly. Here's some Trump ramblings from in between half of a conversation. See, he sounds nonsensical. Now here he is talking about how the Soviet Union getting involved in wars that were seemingly even for their own self-interest. In Syria, being in Syria isn't even in our interest, but even wars that are in your interest can make you go bankrupt and destroy your country. So why should we be in a war when we don't even have an interest in it? Why should we do that to ourselves for no reason? But let's not think about that point. Let's act like he's ridiculous for actually being the first president since Reagan to understand Russia. And let's laugh and pretend like what he just said is nonsense, because it's all 1984 anyway, right?
Although, let's be honest. Best outcome, Trump cooperates with Mueller, rolls on everyone else, and goes into witness protection. Hi, I'm your new neighbor, Ronald Bump. I don't want to say why I moved here, but it was Obama's fault.
This is not related and this is not smart, but this just makes me think, like, I actually am concerned for Trump, because if he did need to go into the witness protection system, he definitely couldn't. So that is definitely actually kind of true.
Also, I love how Trump thinks it's an amazing insight to say Russia used to be the Soviet Union. He thought...
Missing the point. You're just missing the point. Because you don't understand. Like, he feels the need to explain... Seth goes on here to be like, oh. He feels the need to explain Russian history to people because people need it. And you're just proving him right.
So impressive, he said it twice.
Russia used to be the Soviet Union. They went into being called Russia again as opposed to the Soviet Union.
I.e., their country was destroyed because they were in a war in Afghanistan. What's not clear about what he's saying?
Wow! Really, Dr. History? Russia used to be the Soviet Union? This sounds like when the gym teacher has to cover social studies for a week. All right, everybody settle down! We're gonna watch Red Dawn.
Okay, that joke is the best because the whole joke is about gym teachers covering social studies in high school for a week, which is a joke about how bad the public education system is, which really, in essence, somewhere deep down you have to know that government control of the education is just a horrible, horrible disaster. But, I guess we'll just laugh about it instead of fixing it, and we'll just create more government intervention in more things. Because why not? It's not like it's going to ruin those things too.
And that was nothing compared to the stream of incoherent nonsense Trump reeled off in a press conference at the White House on Friday after a meeting with congressional leaders on the shutdown. The press conference got crazier as it went on, including a point at which Trump tried incoherently to explain how migrants cross the southern border.
We've already built a lot of the wall. We've renovated a tremendous amount of wall. I just told you we did a lot of wall in San Diego. Steel is stronger than concrete. So if I have a steel wall, or you could call it a steel fence, we're not talking about games. And I called up.
Are you noticing how many cuts there are in this? Just look how many, if you don't stop when you're an NPC like I used to be, and I used to sit here and watch this and not even notice. But when you notice how many cuts are there, what do you think they're cutting out? Aren't you just a little bit curious what they're cutting out?
We built a lot of the wall. We've
There's
renovated a tremendous amount of wall. I just told you we did a lot of wall in San Diego.
There's a cut.
Is stronger than concrete. So
There's a cut. Does it not seem like they took less than a second of him saying steel is tougher than concrete just to make him look stupid? Can you not tell?
Have a steel wall, or you could call
Who are these 800,000 people or these 19,000 people who can't tell?
it a steel fence. We're not talking about games. And I called up.
Look at all these
I
cuts.
said, hi, it's President Trump. What's going on? They say, President Trump? We don't know who that is. They come in through these vast open areas. They get off the road, and they drive out into the desert, and they come on, they make a left turn. Usually it's a left, not a right. These coyotes and these human traffickers, they make a right turn before they get to the port of entry. They go as...
This is a lot like if you watch the coverage of, I'm not going to show it because that's just too many things to do, but if you remember the coverage of Brett Kavanaugh on the leftist sort of outlets, they just showed the weird parts about him, like crying about his friends, like T-Bone or whoever, and like crying about like hockey and beers. They just cut out the weird parts and stuck them all together and made it look like that was the whole thing, when really if you saw the whole thing, that's not even close to the impression that you would get. Those are not the parts you would remember.
As far as the wall is, or as far as the barricade is, and then they make a left. Welcome to the United States.
The coyotes drive across the border, they make a right, then a left, they go as far as the wall, and then it's welcome to the United States. That idea is so insane and incoherent, there's a good chance he got it from watching cartoons.
Or maybe a simpler explanation is that you doctored it.
These coyotes, they're strapping themselves to rockets and shooting themselves over the border, so we have to build a wall and we have to paint a tunnel on it. That's how you
I'm in favor of that.
get him with the tunnel. You get him with the tunnel.
That's a good trick, actually. That's pretty clever. I would totally support painting a tunnel on the wall.
Trump started out the press conference by inviting congressional leaders to speak, and just to give you an idea of how fried his brain is, watch how he thanks House Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy after his comments. Once again, this is Kevin McCarthy speaking.
We will stay in the room and get this job done. And there was progress today. I look forward to solving it.
Thank you, Steve.
I mean...
Wow, he must be dumb if he forgot somebody's name. They got him. They roasted him. It's over, you guys. They got the drumpf.
Now, in fairness to Trump, if you forget an old white guy's name, you have a decent chance if you just throw out a Steve. But maybe the wildest thing Steve said on... Oh, Steve. This guy. This guy. Hey! Hey, you got a glass house over there! Oh, it's good to be back.
He'll admit he's wrong about the Steve thing, but then like watching him like shamelessly do actual scummy things and not have any of that self-deprecating humor is just really creepy.
But maybe the wildest thing Trump said on Friday was when he threatened to start building the wall unilaterally by declaring a national emergency.
Have you considered using emergency powers to grant yourself authorities to build this wall without congressional approval? And second,
Yes,
on
I have.
Mexico, you have.
Yes, I have. And I can do it if I want.
So you don't need congressional approval to build the
No,
wall?
we can use them. Absolutely. We can call a national emergency because of the security of our country. Absolutely. No, we can do it. I haven't done it. I may do it. I may do it. But
That right there is exactly why his supporters love him and vote for him. Just so you know.
we can call a national emergency and build it very quickly.
Just a side note here, reporters, stop asking questions like that. There's a good chance that Trump never thought about using emergency power until that reporter brought it up. He is very suggestible. A reporter could say, Mr. President, have you thought about wearing a military uniform everywhere and executing your enemies in the Rose Garden? And he would go, we're looking into that very strongly.
You get it? Because Trump is worse than Hitler.
You did that, write that down, I like that. Apparently that performance wasn't crazy enough because today Trump announced he wants to address the nation on Tuesday night, and even in his tweet announcing the speech, Trump lied. He tweeted, I'm pleased to inform you that I will address the nation on the humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border, Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, first of all,
It's not a lie that it's an emergency, but here he goes. He's about to lie. He's about to gaslight everyone who's watching.
just because Trump wants to address the nation doesn't mean networks should air it. Otherwise, they're
Oh, a network shouldn't air the president. Networks should refuse to air the president because they're as extreme as you are.
just passing on his lies unfiltered. They should either reject him outright, or if he insists on speaking in primetime, make him do it as a contestant on The Masked Singer.
They get off the road and they drive out into the desert and they come on, they make a left turn. Usually it's a left, not a right.
Second,
Okay, I'm sorry, but that joke just wasn't funny.
there's no national security crisis at the border. Trump
Yes, there is.
and his aides keep repeating the debunked lie.
Okay, there's video of it, Seth Meyers.
The terrorists are sneaking in from Mexico. Yesterday,
They admitted it.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders tried it on Fox News and got fact-checked by Chris Wallace.
We know that roughly nearly 4,000 known or suspected terrorists come into our country illegally. And we know that our most vulnerable point of entry is at our southern border.
I know this statistic. I didn't know if you were going to use it, but I studied up on this. Do you know where those 4,000 people come, or where they're captured? The airports.
Not always, but
airports.
certainly a
the
large
State Department
number.
says there hasn't been any terrorists that they
Certainly
found coming across the
It's
southern
by
border
air,
from
it's by
Mexico.
land, and it's by sea. It's all of the above.
I know that the Trump administration isn't supposed to make this argument because it's not really very PR friendly, but to be honest, as a former Democrat, the argument for the wall that I actually found persuasive isn't the security threat, which is real. It's not, whether that's from Middle Eastern terrorists or whether that's from economic refugees from Mexico and Venezuela who just want to leech off of us. Either way, that's not convincing to me, even though that's true. What really pushed me over the edge of finding it convincing, and maybe I shouldn't have, maybe this means I'm a bad person, but every time any of the immigrants or the caravan comes to the border and they start throwing rocks at the agents, and the agents have to use tear gas or whatever on them to get them to back away and to stop trying to kill them, it always causes this media frenzy where there's all that, where they try to make them look bad from that. And I think the best reason to have the wall is so that there are no immigrants attacking our border agents. I just think it would eliminate the tear gas problem, so it would be safer for the migrants. It would eliminate the stone throwing problem for the border patrol agents. And I do feel like a wall is a really non-violent thing that you can do to make everybody safer on both sides. And I feel like that should be convincing no matter what side of the aisle you're on, but things that seem that way never are, so whatever.
No, it's not. It's only by air. As soon as they fact-check her, she turns into Paul Revere. It's 1 if by land, 2 if by sea, and 4,000 by air. Also, look at her face. She has literally never heard a reporter use the words, "I studied up on this" before. That's her face. She cannot believe she is being fact-checked by someone on Fox News.
They're feminists, you guys, but it's okay to make fun of her silly face that she's making and make fun of her looks.
As soon as that interview ended, she stormed off the set and screamed, "Who let them have Google?" Trump is
That's funny because no self-respecting conservative would trust or use Google.
totally incoherent and capable of telling the truth. He shouldn't get to address the nation just to repeat his lies. If he calls up the networks asking for airtime, they should pick up the phone and say,
President Trump, we don't know who that is.
"This has been a closer look."
I want to be offended that he keeps saying that the news networks just shouldn't. He says that they should refuse to air the president, but I think he's just saying that, like, if you see the shit eating granite at the end, like, he's just doing it to be cute. He's just saying that because he knows that it's gonna make people mad. Look. So I feel like he doesn't really mean it, so it's fine. I forgive you, Seth Meyers. Thanks for letting me make fun of you.